I got into a close call about 2 weeks ago coming from the airport right on that stretch because I was coming back and I knew what I was doing, but somebody else wasn't, and they were trying to get over. And we're finding that that's a reoccurring theme in a lot of these zones where people are waiting to the last minute, you know, to make that veer. Some of the information we gathered too, just when we were digging through, was pretty interesting to see, you know, the types of crashes. Side swipes, very common, some rear ending, and the days of the week too. Obviously, you know, a work day is obviously more likely than a weekend. Do you struggle sometimes when you're on this I-96 stretch?
Yeah, it's not hard, honestly, Karen, to get into a crash, which sounds awful, but it's a pretty easy thing to do. So thank you so much for your time there. We're going to look again. That was the fourth one. She's going to count down to the number one spot on I-96 throughout the morning show here on Local 4 Plus. The investigative team has been digging into all of these numbers and the crash data. You can scan the QR code right there on your screen. That's going to take you to clickondetroit.com, where you can get the breakdowns of the types of crashes, as Karen was just talking about, the worst times of day and the days with the most crashes. By the way, if you take a look at the bottom of your screen here in just a moment, we're going to show you with that live drive box as Karen is driving now. We'll get to that a little bit later, but you will be able to see her live drive throughout the next 2 hours as well. We're going to switch gears here a little bit, taking a look now inside of Wayne State University this morning at the Gretchen C. Valet Jazz Center, where preps are underway for tonight's mayoral debate. Tonight, 4 of the candidates will be squaring off, telling Detroiters why they should be the one to lead the city into the future. Let's take a look at this full screen here. You can see last month, Local 4, along with the Detroit News, did a poll to see who is leading the charge to be the city's next mayor. We used these numbers to establish a threshold of who can take part in this debate. We set a threshold of 10% with a 4% margin of error. So if anybody had 6% of support or up, would be able to take part in the debate tonight. Those who made the threshold will be debating tonight: Chantel Jenkins, Solomon Kinlock Jr., Mary Sheffield, and James Craig. Now, ahead of tonight's debate, I met up with Jason Colthorpe, a moderator of Flashpoint, and the debate tonight about what we should expect on that stage. Welcome to the Gretchen C. Valet Jazz Center here on the campus of Wayne State University, home of Local 4's mayoral debate, and this guy right here, Jason Colthorpe. The debate starts tonight, 7 o'clock, I believe. 7
o'clock, and we'll actually have a crowd in here.
People will come.
People will come. Each candidate, I think it's 20 tickets for whomever, but they won't have anyone in the front row. That was all kind of agreed upon where they would sit and everything. They'll get, the rest of the crowd will get instructions, let them know, hey, we'd like you not to applaud, not to cheer, boo, all that stuff, until when the candidates get introduced and when we say goodnight. So hopefully they're well behaved, and we know that sometimes the crowd likes to get involved, but hopefully not.
Speaking of well-behaved, are you expecting this to be a contentious debate? Do you think it'll be...
I don't know. I was asking a couple of insiders on Flashpoint. I feel like each of the 4 candidates could have a very distinct game plan.
Sure.
Then that just goes back to the polling that we did, which is also important to point out how we chose these 4 candidates, which we put a poll in the field with Detroit News, conducted by Glenn Gariff Group. And it basically said, and we're asking Detroit voters, not just Detroit voters, ones who plan to vote in the primary, who would you vote for right now? Anyone who got 10%, or counting the plus minus of 4%, so 6% or higher, was invited, and that was these 4 candidates. But the same poll also asked Detroiters, hey, what's most important to you? So it's also important to point out the questions aren't Jason Colthorpe's questions or Channel 4's, or even, our partners with the Michigan Chronicle will have a question, and the AARP. But these are questions that come directly from Detroiters. These are your issues in the most important, ranked in the order of importance that you have them. So
are we allowed to say what they are yet? We probably shouldn't.
Questions?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Come on. Our web team actually was like, hey, do you have an idea? I'm like, whoa. I'm gonna have to get clearance just
under wraps for a little while.
Show you the topics there.
What I found interesting so far, the conversations I've had in Detroit, people are, I don't know if concerned is the right word, but they're waiting to see whoever the next mayor is going to be, how they're going to fill the shoes of Mike Duggan. Right. You look at him running as an independent for governor, is very telling in the way that his mind has worked on trying to get things done in the city of Detroit. And whoever the next mayor is, probably needs to do the exact same thing, because Detroit is on the right path right now, but that's because you've got both sides of the aisle working together to get most of the things done. I don't think the revitalization would have happened without his leadership and bringing in all the corporate money and all the partners and both sides of the aisle to the same table.
And that's been a topic that these candidates have gotten asked, as well as other ones. How do you plan to keep that going? And most of them kind of coalesce around the idea that we're going to keep on with the business community and do what he did there. But what these candidates in this race, at least the ones I've heard speak, say that they'll do differently than Mike Duggan is pay more attention to the neighborhoods.
Okay.
The message has got to get out past downtown. Now, if you talk to Mike Duggan, he would argue that that's a big misnomer, that he hasn't done enough in the neighborhoods. That's his argument, not mine. But that the candidates are trying to separate themselves in that way, and yet in other ways trying to also make sure that, you know, if you liked what you saw because of A, B, and C, then I'm going to keep that going, that sort of thing. And the business community rallying them around has been one of the rallying calls.
Yeah. So from the candidates, obviously all four have their different goals in mind, but what do you think is going to be one of the key messages from them as they try to win this race?
I think that part, I really think it could be anything.
Yeah.
I know they're all going to probably focus on getting out into the neighborhoods, improving neighborhoods, and you know, you still drive around a lot of major corridors and you see boarded up buildings.
Absolutely.
And places that need help. Going back to, I think you asked it a few questions ago, just about when I was mentioning the polling, any of them could have a different strategy Monday night, because if you're Mary Sheffield and you're way out in front, if you believe the validity of that poll, and we've always had good luck with Glenn Gariff Group and Richard Juba, but her obviously game plan could be playing keep away. Reverend Solomon Kinlock Jr., he was second place with 14%. And then 9% for James Craig, 8% for Santiel Jenkins. So that cluster of three candidates is within 5 points, and there's 22% undecided.
Right.
So each of them could go after the other. I guess they could try and take voters away from Mary Sheffield, but Mario Morrow, who we've mentioned, he said they probably won't try and steal voters from Reverend Kinlock. His supporters are
his
probably
base is kind of locked in.
That base is a locked base.
Right.
So you have 22% undecided, but James Craig supporters could try and get Santiel's or vice versa, or some of Mary Sheffield. But I kind of think it seems, maybe it's just because it seems like the obvious thing, that those three might kind of go after each other.
Yeah. So do you think it is the neighborhoods that might be the topic that flips the undecided voters?
I think it's neighborhoods, and more if they have that plan to what the plan is. If we hear more than just, well, we're going to work harder and get out into the neighborhood.
Sure. But, like an actual concrete plan, not just a message.
Yeah, and crime still remains one of the top concerns with a lot of people.
Which I'm sure James Craig will probably hone in on.
Right. You have a former police chief who you would think would have an advantage there, but we'll see how much importance he puts on that. He's also stressed, being the only Republican in the race, that he is at least in the last debate, made a point that the ARPA funds are running out, federal funding is running out with Detroit, and you're going to need someone to work with Washington, and he's the guy who can do that. That's what he says. So, you know, we'll see what the issue. I think crime, neighborhoods, affordable housing is very big. And we've seen Mike Duggan, that was one of his things, that he always was unveiling a new affordable house. But it's still, Detroiters know, not only do they want more affordable housing, but what are you also going to do to make sure that existing residents who've been there for a long time
don't get forgotten,
don't get bumped out. Gentrification.
Yeah. So this is the stand. This is where you're going to be, right here.
Right
this
there.
This is it.
Yep.
The Jason Corther. Oh, don't.
You get a little
there's notes
sneak
back
peek.
there. Don't look.
There's notes.
Don't look.
There's questions under there somewhere.
Okay, 7 o'clock tonight. Good luck. Have fun, man.
All right. I don't know about fun, but we'll show up. We'll give it a go.
He's going to do great. Don't forget to watch the debate tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus. And tomorrow morning, we're going to have a full roundtable right here on Local 4 Live to talk about that debate, kind of wrap it all up and get some expert opinion. That's tomorrow morning on Local 4 Live here on Local 4 Plus. All things live all the time. That's the mantra of the show. Let's take a live look now at Munising in the Upper Peninsula. Next, a 10.5-mile stretch of the UP coastline. Just named one of the best in the country. We're going to dive into that. Maybe not that water. Might be a little too cold. We'll dive into the data when we come back. All right, let's take a live look this morning over in Munising near this Upper Peninsula, near Pictured Rocks. That's where the iconic Chapel Loop of Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore was just named one of the 7 most beautiful coastal hikes in the U.S. That's according to Outside Magazine. According to that website, the 10.5-mile hike of Chapel Loops takes in the area's history with multiple waterfalls tucked into forest before you trace the edge of the cliff over Lake Superior. Ashley has joined us in the corner this morning.
Calling it the Nook.
The Nook?
Yeah.
I like the Nook over here.
Yeah.
It's cozy.
It is.
Unlike your forecast.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, you said there's storms coming in.
Not until Wednesday. I mean, today's actually a really nice, like, splash pad day, pool day, sprinkler day for the kids to run through the good old slip and slide. No. Well, I mean, hey, we could do anything.
All the cameras, all the equipment in here. But.
That is true. I was going to say, you got to bust out the swimsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, definitely one of those days, too, where, especially for the kiddos, like those long sleeve, UV shirts. Those are good.
Harmful UV rays today, huh?
Well, I mean, even with the cloud cover, sometimes you get a little overconfident and you still can get sunburned with some of those clouds. So, yeah. Our weather headlines for today, like I said, grab the sunglasses because those clouds should break apart a little bit, giving way to some sun. But we are going to be in a nice, warm, summer-like stretch. And we officially welcome summer on Friday with the summer solstice. But 80s this week. In fact, we could reach 90 degrees this weekend. So we're definitely talking about lake and pool weather going into the weekend. But as Nick just mentioned, we have some strong storms on the horizon. I don't think we see those until late Wednesday. We're still fine-tuning that timeline, but certainly Wednesday is the day that we have our eyes on. So satellite radar right now, we've had some of those clouds roll through southeast Michigan, but you see how they thin out as they push to the east. So that's why I'm very optimistic that we will get some of that sunshine working in. So sunglasses will be needed. Right now, though, look, we got one of those big...
You love when this happens, don't you?
I do, because that just proves that it's a live camera of the Detroit River there. So, yeah, super cool shot there. We do have some clouds over our downtown skyline from our Windsor Sky Cam. But overall, the river has been pretty calm with the exception of those boats going by because we have pretty calm winds out there. Just a very light northeasterly breeze that eventually shifts out of the southeast. And what that means is we're going to see some warmer air building in the next couple days with a southerly flow of wind. But we are in the 60s all across the area. So kind of right around that 63-degree mark across Metro Detroit. Air quality, that's good. That's good. I mean, talk about a big change.
A while.
Yeah, from the last week. So we'll take a good day like that. Just a thin smoke layer well aloft, so that's not impacting our air quality at the surface, but still getting a little bit of that haze coming off of those Canadian wildfires. Otherwise, your forecast planner for today, taking those summer-like activities outside, 82, partly cloudy skies, so very much on par with where we should be. We do get into the mid-80s tomorrow, Wednesday. Chance for a pop-up as we head into late Tuesday. Even a little isolated chance this afternoon. That's that little popcorn shower around 5, but you blink, you miss it, and most of us dodge that. So I think it's going to be come tomorrow night that we see some of those scattered downpours roll through. There's a little snapshot for you just after midnight going into Wednesday morning. So you want to cover up the patio furniture before you go to bed tomorrow night. And then a better chance for some of those storms for late Wednesday. Slight level 2 risk for strong to severe storms with damaging winds, the primary threat, but really everything will be on the table come late Wednesday. We have this frontal passage throughout the evening, and then a low pressure system will be working its way in as we head into the overnight. And so some of that heavier rain could be tracking right now in northern lower Michigan, but I'm not going to rule that out, just shifting a little farther south here. So we could see some isolated flooding, but kind of right around 80 to round out the week. And then look at that weekend forecast.
That's incredible.
Now that's what we're talking about if you want to hit the water.
Wait a minute, 90? That's too hot now.
Hey, make yourself a little frozen drink and just be by the...
Are you offering? Should I drive over to your place?
Well, but you're the one that has the pool, right? I'll bring the cooler.
And I'll be on the road to a dance competition at that point.
Of course. The never-ending dance.
This is the season. You remember.
Oh, I remember it well. And I have a little dancer, but she's not in competition mode like your daughter.
Boy.
And so, yeah. But I just love that you're a dance dad.
So we have T-shirts now.
You have T-shirts now? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, with those 90-degree temperatures, make sure those costumes don't stay in the car because it's even warmer in the car. I had competitions out in Vegas, like national competitions.
Where it's like 100
and we were told, don't leave your makeup case in the car, don't leave the costumes, because even the rhinestone glue will melt.
Really?
Yeah, it can ruin the costumes. So be the dad that saves the day. Bring all that stuff inside.
Oh, we had to even buy a new dance bag because there's so many costumes now. It's a whole thing. It is a whole thing.
Nick's going to keep working for the rest of his life to afford
Just to afford the
dance
costumes.
competitions.
So
Yeah.
many sequins. Ashley, thank you so much. Let's take a live look over the University of Michigan State University right now. Next, the unique collaboration seeing students becoming true detectives working to solve a decades-old mystery. Something happening today. The CEO of the Oxford Center in Troy, where a hyperbaric chamber explosion killed a 5-year-old, is heading back to court. Tamala Peterson is one of 4 people charged in connection to the death of 5-year-old Thomas Cooper, who is getting treatment at the center in Troy. The hearing starts in about 34 minutes at 9 a.m. Also, if you're on the TV side of things, you should flip over to Local 4 Plus right now, where Local 4 Live is happening. We're heading back out to I-96, where Karen Drew is exposing the major crash zones on that freeway, plus a fascinating look into a cold case solved partly and thanks to a group of students from Michigan State. And there's a big job fair in just a few days focusing on skilled trades. I'll give you the list of employers, I should say, looking to hire right now. And there's some good ones on there with some good paying jobs. Also, Ashley is back with Look at Your Forecast in just a few minutes. Beautiful summer-like days as we're looking live at the Big House right now. We'll be back in just a bit.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live. It's 8:30 here on your Monday morning. If you're listening to us in your car, that means you're probably stuck in rush hour traffic, and some of you could be on I-96 this morning, along with our own Karen Drew. She's been taking us through the spots that you are most likely to have a crash over on 96. About 30 minutes ago, we showed you the fourth worst spot for crashes that are on the I-96 Express to Southfield Freeway interchange. That's what that one was. Karen is now going to show us the third worst spot along 96. And Karen, I was curious, did any of these numbers surprise you in terms of the locations of the most likely to have a crash at?
Okay, so the city spots did surprise me. 4 and 3, those two zones are in the city. We're coming up right now. If you want to take a look right now, this is 96 and Greenfield. So we're talking about that stretch between Wyoming and Greenfield. This one kind of surprises me, only in the sense that it doesn't seem that tricky. But then when you really talk about and think about it, you've got those local lanes and you've got the express lanes, and this seems to be a continual problem. When you have that choice, folks are waiting to the last second to move over. So I want you to take a closer look at this third zone, the third spot you're most likely to get into a crash on I-96.
The third spot you're most likely to crash on I-96 between Greenfield Road and Wyoming Avenue. We broke down data from 2019 through 2023, and during that time, 10 people were killed in 6 different crashes. 4 men in their 20s were killed on Mother's Day in 2023 when they crashed into a bridge pillar. In another crash, a 21-year-old man was thrown from his vehicle after it went airborne. In 2020, a man in his 30s also thrown from his car after driving up a grass embankment and then rolling the car. So why does this area see more crashes?
Somebody doesn't realize their exit is in the local, and here they are in the express, so they're going to try to get over type of thing.
Out of the 757 crashes reported, nearly 47% were single vehicle crashes. Nearly 56% of crashes happened in the eastbound lanes. Most crashes occurred on a Sunday, and July was the month that saw the least amount of crashes.
And I have to say, as we come back live here on I-96 traveling westbound, we're coming up to that Southfield exchange. That's the fourth highest spot to see zones. It was weird on that third zone that Sunday saw the most crashes. Typically it's weekdays, but that's why it's kind of interesting to take a close look at the data, because it is interesting in terms of when these crashes occur. I will say most of them do typically occur in those afternoon hours more so than the morning, so you have to be careful of that drive. It's challenging. I was going to ask you, Nick, I know we're always driving all around in terms of covering stories. How do you do on the I-96 stretch?
Fortunately, I haven't had any issues, but I will say that does make a little sense there, because sometimes when you have that separation of express lanes versus local lanes, especially if you're not from the area, you don't quite understand where you need to be, and then when you realize, sometimes it's too late and there's kind of a panic mode sets in. I did want to ask you, Karen, the numbers that you're digging into, I know that wasn't easy. Can you take us behind the scenes a little bit of how you were compiling things and trying to understand which area is the worst?
Well, I mean, we use some numbers from the Michigan Department of Transportation, and obviously they keep track. Michigan State Police have their police reports too as well, so there's a compilation of numbers there. But yes, we did. We went through, and it's tedious, but it was one of those conversations that we were having, saying, we drive these roads, where do we need to be pay more particular attention? So taking a look at where the crashes occur, the times of day, the directions, the type of crashes. We made charts up on all of those topics. And I know you're going to talk a little bit about that because we've got that on ClickOn. We have actually 2 investigations. One's broadcast, which we're sharing with you right now, showing you the visuals, but we did a digital breakdown where you can really dive into and see exactly where these numbers go. And then we did it over 5 years. We didn't want to just do 1 year because somebody might say, oh, there was a construction project, or oh, that was a bad winter, or weather. So we thought over 5 years we had some good numbers, and when you at least have this information, you can be better prepared when you drive. Yeah,
and the fact that the Sunday it seems to be an anomaly to me, but that's what the numbers say.
That is for this one particular zone, though. That was just the 96 between Greenfield and Wyoming. It was Sunday. But all the other ones tend to be during the weekdays, and they tend to be around that 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But also, the morning time also is another time that's why we're airing this in the morning, because everyone, is driving during this time. Right now, I want to let you know I'm no traffic reporter, but it's a smooth drive right now on I-96 coming up to Outer Drive. We don't have any major backups. I feel like I'm Darnell for a moment.
Yeah,
but,
don't jinx it though. Don't jinx it.
I know, right? When we come back, I'm gonna tell you the number 2 spot. It's not in the city. We're gonna head to the suburbs, and we'll reveal that at 9 o'clock.
Okay. All right, Karen. Thank you so much. Well, Karen and the investigative team did a deep dive as she was talking about any of that data. All of it has been compiled online for you. If you scan the QR code right now, it's going to take you to click on Detroit.com, where you can get the breakdowns of the types of crashes, the worst times of day, and the days with the most crashes. And by the way, we can show you the live drive of Karen's camera all morning long. You can see right there. You can see exactly what their track is going to be. As she just mentioned, they're going to head up to the suburbs and show you the number 2 area with the most crashes. We'll be here again in about 25 minutes at 9 o'clock. Let's take a live look now over at Michigan State University this morning. And while school is out for the summer, unless they're taking summer classes, the university is still helping close cold cases. We're talking about a collaboration that's turning Michigan State classrooms into crime-solving hubs. Students from MSU have helped crack a nearly 3-decade-old murder case working alongside actual Michigan State police detectives. This is not the first time either. It's a second major breakthrough case for this cold case partnership that is changing lives on both sides. A dusty box of case files, a body in a Blissfield Township cornfield, and 28 years of silence. In 1997, a man only known as John Doe was found murdered. Police think it was tied to drug trafficking and had an idea who might have killed him, but the case went cold with few answers and no one held responsible. Until now, thanks in part to students.
I think it could kind of be important to look at a case like this with fresh eyes, because when it goes cold, however many years ago, opening that back up can, especially with the interns, like I said, can get a set of fresh eyes on it. And you could either see things that have been missed before. So
MSP Detective Sergeant Larry Rothman and MSU Professor Allison Rojek created the MSU-MSP Cold Case Collaboration, pairing criminal justice students with detectives to rework cold cases, seeing if any new evidence can come to light.
It's like when we get it, it's like all in boxes, it's all like files, and you take them and you're like running them through a scanner to digitize them for like future detectives to like work on it. So, it's work that detectives don't have the time for, but like it's valuable to like lay the groundwork of cases when they're working on them in the future.
The students just didn't scan papers, though. They retraced the victim's final moments, all while having their opinions respected.
From the very first day, detectives came in and told us, like, we take you seriously, your opinion is valued, you're here for a reason. We're not just kind of babysitting you and giving you something to do and put on your resume. Like, you have value here, and with that job comes a lot of responsibility.
The hard work paid off, and nearly 30 years later, Michael and Richard Sepulveda were arrested for John Doe's murder. And while this cold case ended with an arrest, those involved in the project know that won't always be the case. Now, it's not the epic break in the case students were expecting, but one of the men police believed was involved turned himself in. That allowed witnesses to feel safe and come forward.
It makes you realize that, these were real people that lived real lives.
This is the second cold case the MSU-MSP partnership has helped close, something that is not lost on Professor Rojek.
There's a lot of different ways that we define success in cold case. This is a second case that the unit has been involved in solving, that students have been involved in, which is amazing. But there's other cases that are, in a better position or more forward than they were when, like Seth said, you pull them out of a box and you start to organize them and start to make progress on them. So a lot of different ways that we define success, but the second cold case solved is also really, really awesome for the unit.
Now, last year, Michael Sepulveda took a guilty plea and is serving 10 to 30 years in prison, while Ricardo was convicted of murder earlier this year. He's going to be sentenced tomorrow and could face life in prison without parole. Joining me right now live to talk more about this program is the actual detective, Sergeant Larry Rothman, with the cold case unit of the MSP. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wanted to ask you, this collaboration is amazing, not only for the students, but for you as well. How did this idea come about?
Well, this is not a new idea. Back in 2000, during COVID, I was tasked with creating a cold case unit in our first district for MSP, and quickly learned that this is not a one-man show. I need some help. Just like any other law enforcement agency, we're kind of hurting for people, and so I reached out to MSU, their School of Criminal Justice, and got several calls back. And that's kind of how the collaboration started.
You can see how excited the students are in their interviews talking about what they're working on. But do you feel that instantly when, students, whether they're undergrad or graduate, get to come and work on actual files with you?
It's very exciting. I've got about 26 years in the department. And, someone with this much time sometimes loses your passion and your zeal for things. But the students coming in, they really... they make me realize I have a really good job, and it's an honor to be able to work alongside them. They bring some encouragement, excitement. Their youthfulness is contagious. It's a win-win for not only MSP, but for MSU and the students as well.
Yeah, we talked about it in the story leading up to this interview with you here. It seems like there could easily be a dynamic where, the seasoned official detectives like you, and you've got these kids working alongside you, but it sounds like you and all of your colleagues there are pretty open to hearing what they have to say.
Well, just like it was mentioned earlier, we take their opinions seriously. They come in, they're criminal justice students. They may not have the practical experience that we have, but they bring a different set of eyes, like it was stated. And we treat them like young detectives when they get into the unit. They're handling some pretty serious information. They have access to, a lot of the stuff that we deal with every day. So we have to treat them as kind of partners in this, or we're not going to get very far.
A lot of times when we see in the movies or in the dramas on television where, homicides are solved in an hour, there's a cliche always about having a fresh set of eyes on things. Does that really make a difference, or can it in some of these cases?
It does. And these collaborations, we're not the only one in the state that are doing these collaborations, but, we certainly don't want to deter from all the hard work that detectives have done over the years. Sometimes it's just a matter of, in this case, someone coming forward or new technologies. Mm-hmm. It doesn't diminish the work that has been done for years and years on these cases, because some great detectives, great departments have worked on these cases over the years. But those new set of eyes, especially, a lot of our students are interested in this type of work. So they've been listening to podcasts and Forensic Files and all those sorts of shows. And they bring unique ideas and perspectives that maybe sometimes we haven't thought of.
So now that you've been doing this for a few years, then, have you had the opportunity to work with some of these students and then see them go down a career path, whether it's into, becoming a police officer or working behind the scenes in forensic labs and working on projects like this and cases like this?
Yes, we've had several of our interns working for the federal law enforcement agencies. One is going to be starting MSP recruit school. I think one works for MSU, one works for Nashville PD down in Tennessee. So a lot of our interns, are off starting their career in law enforcement, not indirectly because of what we've done, and we seem to light a passion underneath them to pursue this type of work.
That must feel really incredible for you to see what you're doing there, not only helping with the cases, but also kind of getting students introduced to a field that they probably already were interested in, but now to see them go down a career path where not saying it's time for you to retire, but these young ones are going to be, that's what you need.
It is. These kids are sometimes younger than my own kids. And it's really nice to see. It's like raising another kid, and it's wonderful to see them get out on their own and be able to start applying for jobs and And I get a lot of calls for people that want references and things like that from our interns. So it's been really good thing for like I said, for both MSP and for MSU. But like I said earlier, this is not our only collaboration that MSP is partnered up with. We have other universities in the state that are also partnered up with MSP doing very similar work.
All right, Larry, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for the project, because, again, I think those kids are getting experience that they wouldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, take care. All right, when we come back, we're going to look at a couple of different things, including the futures board, which the stock market opens at about 45 minutes now. The headlines of today could be impacting the stock markets here. We're going to look at that in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. Taking a look inside of Wayne State University right now, where preps are underway for tonight's mayoral debate, Detroit debate. 4 candidates who met our 10% threshold plus the margin of error will be squaring up, telling voters why they should lead the city of Detroit. You can watch that debate tonight at 7 o'clock right here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus. Also, let's take a look at some of the responses this morning. We've got Renee Edmonds saying this: I believe the next Detroit mayor needs to continue with the work that Mayor Duggan has done in concentrating on the residential neighborhoods. Also, developing ways to reduce crime. The image of Detroit still needs to be polished to become a great place to visit and to live. Taking a look at your headlines this morning, President Trump is in Canada for the G7 summit. This is the first international summit of the president's second term. The president is expected to face a full plate of both foreign and domestic issues. The ongoing situation in Iran and Israel expected to take center stage, of course. Another key focus, tariffs and trade, with President Trump hinting at an announcement about new trade details. Meantime, the president is announcing a significant expansion of ICE enforcement targeting Democratic-run cities. Trump is claiming there's widespread fraud and crime in cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. ICE officers are now making around 3,000 arrests every day, a sharp increase from about 650 just a few months ago. This has sparked nationwide protest and raised questions about his decision to deploy the National Guard in California, a move he is standing by. A former Macomb County Sheriff's deputy is going to learn how long he could spend in jail for slapping a teen who was handcuffed. This happened back in 2023 when prosecutors say former Deputy Derek Reed hit a 14-year-old while taking them in for a probation violation. Reed was fired after this happened. His sentencing is coming after pleading no contest earlier this year. Another deputy connected to this, Alan Weir, pleaded no contest to willful neglect of duty and was sentenced to 1 year of probation. Let's take a live look at the futures board this morning. We're about 40 minutes now from the opening bell. Futures holding steady right now in the green, but that might change once the market opens. Traders are keeping a close eye on the tensions in the Middle East and impacting gas prices as well. Meanwhile, the Fed is getting ready to meet this week to discuss interest rates. They could make a decision on Wednesday on whether or not to raise, lower, or keep the rate as is. Let's take a live look at Belleville this morning. Ash is going to come back with the check of your forecast, which looks beautiful for the start of your work week. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. Let us take a look at some My Picks this morning. This one comes from Mitch and Marcy, showing off a beautiful sunset as summer takes full bloom, as they say over in Bloomfield Hills. You can scan the QR code there on your screen here in just a moment, which is going to take you to the My Picks page on clickondetroit.com. You can post photos that just could end up right here on Local 4 Live. What a good look that was. Yeah. I was very happy with that.
Was that a little bird bath? Is that what
I think so. Oh. A little sunset in the background.
I love that.
Right. Okay, so the forecast today, like if we look day by day, today looks great. Tomorrow looks pretty decent, right? And then we have question marks.
Yeah, Wednesday's the question mark.
Okay.
Only because high resolution data that we look at to really pinpoint the timing, the severity of storms comes in within a 48-hour window. So we're just kind of on the cusp of that. So I don't want to lock in to say it's going to be at this exact time, but I can say late Wednesday going into Wednesday night is looking iffy for some storms.
Okay.
We'll cool off a little bit Thursday, Friday, but still around 80, and then a hot but decent weekend ahead. So
90s, huh?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Cranking up the heat. That's what we do in Michigan. We go from one extreme to the other.
I know.
And then you like,
We
don't don't
used
adjust.
to it, though.
Well,
We're never used to it.
no, because all these swings. But yeah, satellite and radar showing that we do have some cloud cover across the area, and that low pressure system off through the plains will eventually work its way into our neck of the woods. But you see some of those clouds kind of thinning out as they move to the east. So let's go ahead and translate that into a live look at Metro Airport, where we're brightening things up a little bit. Now, it still could be a little bit of that filtered sunshine because we still have some of that wildfire smoke aloft. Not as prevalent as last week, so we're not looking at bad air quality right now, but we are sitting in the low 60s across the board. Monroe jumping to about 64, but 63 for most of us across the area. And here's another look at our temperature map. So pretty consistent temperatures that we're waking up to on this Monday, which will be pretty marvelous. Air quality map. Not a whole lot to show you, but that was worth showing just because the air quality was so poor last week. I mean, I wasn't the only one suffering with my voice. I was talking to others, and they were just like, this is rough.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, so between that and then the little fuzzies that were flying around, which there's still a few of those left.
They won't go away.
I know. We need like another good rain, really.
You're bringing it, apparently.
I'll try. I'm always trying to look at the silver lining to like when we have inclement weather, but it could help us with this. So yeah, there's that smoke map for you. We do have just that light, thin layer up above. So 82 for the afternoon high today. I'll tell you what, if you don't have a pool, maybe take the kids to a splash pad or put the sprinkler out, let them run around on the sprinkler and have some fun because it'll be nice with partly cloudy skies. Winds will be shifting out of the south, southeast. Here's just this little pop-up chance by about 5 o'clock this afternoon, and I don't even know if that's going to come to fruition. So, but worth just showing you what some of that model data is showing. Otherwise, I think it's going to be late tomorrow night going into Wednesday that you get a couple scattered showers, and still, that's not even widespread, but it will be Wednesday that we have this slight level 2 risk, and all risks, all threats will be on the table, but damaging wind gusts will be the primary one with the storms that could develop. And so a quicker look at this, you see how there's that front that's lifting throughout the day, low pressure system, and then as we head into the late part of Wednesday night into Thursday, I think that's when we have some of those stronger storms firing off. So stay with your forward weather team. We're going to continue to just like dive into the details of all that to really lock it in for folks on Wednesday night, but either side of 90 this weekend.
So there is a chance the severe stuff could just push northward away from us?
The way that low is tracking, I think that there is a chance that it could dodge us a little bit. I mean, fingers crossed, because it's that time of year, graduation parties, weddings,
there's
all
a
that
lot
kind
of
of
stuff going
stuff.
on right now.
So, I mean, I get it's in the middle of the week, but still, if you're prepping for those things.
At least it helps that it might be overnight.
Yes, as long as, but you just don't want it to be too severe overnight.
Then that's a problem.
Right, because you want folks to get all the messaging and take cover.
It's like lose-lose no matter what we do.
Welcome to my world, Nick. Yes.
All right, Ashley, thank you. Yeah. Some brand new conversations coming up here in the next half hours on Local 4 Live. Earlier, we talked about the Detroit mayoral debate. In our next half hour, an idea of what candidates need to do, how they need to perform to come out on top. Plus, we're talking skilled trades, a major job fair happening in just a few days. The list of employers looking to hire employees right now. And today, National Fudge Day, Ashley. All right? We're going to go up north. Fortunately, the fudge is coming to us, though. We're going to show you the place that knows how to make some fudge. More news and weather in the next half hour. Stay with us.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Local 4 Live here on Monday, June 16th. We are officially on our second week of Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. So much to talk about today. Let's get to some of the top stories. First up, Karen Drew driving on 996, looking at where drivers are most likely to crash. She has been digging through 5 years of crash data. Also, a live look inside of a courtroom that's in Troy. That's where the CEO of the Oxford Center is going to be back in court. In fact, you can see her right there. A 5-year-old was killed when an Oxford Center hyperbaric chamber exploded. Today's hearing is about what evidence is going to be allowed in court. If court actually starts on time, we're going to take a live listen inside and see what's happening in that courtroom. And also a live look in Southfield. You can see 696 right down there. There's a job fair happening in Southfield. It's in a few days. It's going to focus on skilled trades. I've got the list of employers looking to hire. You can make some really good money with some really good jobs. And our question of the day has to do with the Local 4 Detroit mayoral debate happening tonight at Wayne State for the Detroit mayor's race. What would you like to see in your next mayor? Scan the code. I do this every time. It's backwards, right? The mayor effect. It's over here. What would you like to see in Detroit's next mayor? Well, I'm sure some of you at some point have been stuck behind a crash on the road somewhere. All morning long, our investigative team has been taking us through the spots on I-96 where drivers are most likely to get into a crash, and they know this after digging through 5 years of data. In the last hour, we revealed the 4th worst spot for crashes, which is I-96 Express to the M39 Southfield Freeway interchange. The 3rd spot, Greenfield Road to Wyoming Avenue. And now Karen Drew is live, unveiling or revealing the 2nd worst spot drivers are most likely to crash on I-96. Karen, you were in the city, now we're in the burbs?
Yeah, we are in Novi right now. We are at that 96, 275, 5 interchange. We just pulled onto it. You can see if you take a live look with our traffic camera here, you can see traffic is still pretty heavy in that 9 o'clock hour. And this is where it does get confusing because you've got all of those areas, all those roads, you know, basically combining. You have to make a decision. Am I getting over here? Am I taking M5, 96 turns? And then there's a section where 96 and 275 kind of share the same name. So that really gets confusing. And because of that confusion, and even though there's signs out there, we're seeing a lot of crashes in this particular area. Take a look at what we found when we really took a deep dive into the past 5 years.
You've seen the headlines, crash after crash on I-96. They happen often and happen in all different places. But that had us thinking, where are you most likely to crash? Buckle up. We're diving into the data and hitting the road. This is I-96, eastbound from just before Novi Road into that I-696 M5 interchange. It's the 2nd top spot drivers are most likely to crash. I posted this on my Facebook page asking which parts of I-96 you dread driving. Colleen Nader even called the intersection the stuff of nightmares. You're not alone, Colleen. We broke down data from 2019 through 2023. This 2-mile stretch saw 815 crashes, and half of those reported were rear-end crashes.
275 shares the name with 96.
I get confused on that.
Exactly.
I do.
So actually, when at that point, 696 picks up your east-west route, and then 275 is also 96 that then reconnects when you get into the Livonia area.
Coming out here live. Now we are entering that stretch of Livonia exit. So we went from Novi, we moved to Livonia. Now we are going to head to the next spot, the #1 spot that sees the most crashes on I-96. I will tell you, it's still in the suburbs. We are headed in that direction. If you know this area, you kind of know what we're talking about. But right now, so far this morning, I'm just kind of looking around. There's a lot of heavy truck traffic too on this stretch as well. And you've got businesses, you've got, you've got Lawrence Tech just down the road. It's a heavy spot of traffic. It doesn't surprise me, Nick, that we see a lot of crashes here. But most of the time, I have to tell you, a lot of those hot spots are in the city. So it is a little different that we're seeing them in the suburb, but that's because of those traffic volumes. How are you doing over there in terms of when you go to Stories and you start driving on this stretch, Nick?
I will tell you, every time I'm in that area, specifically that one there in the Novi area, Karen, I look at all of the interchanges in all of the different directions and all the signage, like this one's 275, that one's 96, this one's 696. And I think in the back of my mind, if I were a tourist or on vacation or just traveling through and I don't know these areas, I would be very, very stressed out.
It is stressful, and also your GPS can actually confuse you, Nick, because sometimes, you know, you think you're on 96, but it's also 275, and if you don't know that they're the same, you think you're on the wrong one, so you hurry up and make a turn, and that's also some of the problems. MDOT says, you know, a lot of us depend on our GPS too much, and it actually confuses us. So kind of knowing where you're going, kind of playing it out in your head, and then, you know, when you do get to the decision point, to actually not necessarily hit your brakes, but kind of slow down just a little bit just to make that decision before those interchanges come. That's a little bit of advice.
Maybe slow down a little
bit.
bit.
Pay attention. Get off your phone.
Get in the right lane. Yeah, just kind of take it easy. All right, Karen, thank you so much. We're also going to be watching Karen's live drive in the bottom corner of our screen all show long. You can see where she's going. No bathroom breaks. So, Karen, we're watching you live. Also, take a look at all the crash data we have. Scan that QR code on your screen. You can see all of the data that our investigative team has been diving into. There's breakdowns on the types of crashes, worst times of day, and the days with the most crashes. Also, as I mentioned, that live screen right there, that mirror effect. I'm going to get it every time. If it's on my live, it's on my right. Got it. Okay. This is the camera looking out of the mobile newsroom that Karen is in right now. You can see exactly where she's going. You might be able to guess what the number one spot is based on where she's going. Let's check on some of the headlines of the day, starting in the Middle East, where Iran fired a new wave of missile attacks on Israel earlier this morning, triggering air raid sirens across the country. Take a listen. Well, that's what a lot of people heard overnight as Iran launched several missile strikes at Israel. Emergency services reported at least 5 killed and dozens more hurt in the 4th day of fighting. Iran announced it had launched some 100 missiles and vowed further retaliation for Israel's sweeping attacks on its military and nuclear infrastructure. That's killed about 224 people in the country since last Friday. Meanwhile, this conflict between the two could soon impact prices here at the pump. We're talking about 30 cents per gallon, which is a possible increase. So for context, let's look at a potential summer road trip. Say you're going from Detroit to Mackinac City. That's 289 miles. If you fill up the tank today, the average price in Michigan is $3.08 per gallon. So a full tank, that trip would cost you $44.50. Once those prices go up, it would be $3.38 a gallon. That would cost nearly $49 on that trip. That's all based on the car getting 20 miles per gallon. Some of you are getting less than that. Some of you are getting more. Meanwhile, happening back here at home, the CEO of the Oxford Center in Troy, where a hyperbaric chamber explosion killed a 5-year-old, is back in court. This is a live look at the courtroom right now. Tamala Peterson is out on bond. Today's hearing is about the evidence in this case, mainly deciding what evidence can and cannot be shown or talked about in court. Peterson is one of 4 people charged in connection to the death of 5-year-old Thomas Cooper, who was getting treatment at the Oxford Center in Troy. The hyperbaric chamber he was inside exploded last January, killing him and hurting his mom. Again, today's hearing is about the evidence, what could be allowed in court. We're waiting for this hearing to start at any moment. When it does, we might take a live listen in. Well, prep is underway at the Gretchen C. Valet Jazz Center at Wayne State right now for today's Detroit's mayoral debate. Tonight, 4 of the candidates will be squaring off, telling Detroiters why they should be the one to lead the city into the future. Tonight's moderator and Flashpoint host Jason Colthorpe caught up with some experts about what we can expect tonight.
Let's dive into the Detroit mayor's race with a couple of our favorite insiders. Mario Moro is the CEO of the strategic communications firm of the same name, and Orlando Bailey, executive director of Outlier Media and an award-winning journalist himself. Guys, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Let me ask it this way. What we've seen up to this point, how do you take that, Mario, and apply it to what you expect to see tomorrow night?
Well, I think, first of all, these candidates are just kind of like teasing us through this primary process. Everyone's trying to go for second place right now. We all know, based on all the polls, that Mary Sheffield, Council President Mary Sheffield, is in first place. These other guys are just fighting and position themselves for second place. And I don't think we've seen anything substantial as it relates to substance with solving the problems. Solomon Kenlock, of course, has come in second place in most of the polls. So I think they're all fighting each other. And this debate that's coming up is going to be crucial for those individuals trying to move in that second place position.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree that the debate will absolutely be consequential toward the advancement of the candidates moving forward. And what would be really interesting to see, as this is a network debate that will be broadcast region-wide, who the candidates choose to speak to the most. Detroit voters, Detroiters who aren't voting, but they will be subject to their policies, donors, the business community, or other lawmakers. It would be really telling to see who they talk to the most.
I kind of thought we'd see that a little bit at Mackinac, talking to donors, as you say, because this is about the time where that takes off, but we didn't really see that. And I do feel like, Orlando, maybe you see it this way too, each candidate feels like they might have a very different strategy in this debate.
Yeah, I know that folks are now ranking up endorsements. Council President Mary Sheffield just got the Emily's List endorsement. Solomon Kinlock just got the UAW endorsement. And so their approach in appeasing the folks that have endorsed them while trying to speak to the business community, because I know there is some worry there about these candidates not being as business friendly as the previous administration, but also the very real plight of Detroit residents and neighborhoods and how they plan to speak to that. It would really be an interesting scenario to look at. Yeah.
In addition to that, Jason and Orlando, the candidates really haven't talked about how they're going to solve problems.
Yeah.
And the most difficult thing with this whole process right now is, how do you come behind a Mike Duggan who has made this job look very easy? And I agree with you 100%, who they're going to talk to and how they're going to identify themselves and sort of peel themselves off to separate themselves at that debate. And then there are those who weren't invited as well.
That's right, which I do want to talk about before we're done here. But do you feel like when it comes to strategy, you mentioned it's all about second place. Could we see Santiel Jenkins and James Craig maybe take more aim at Solomon Kinlock in this debate rather than just kind of, leave Mary Sheffield out there for this debate?
Well, that could be a strategy, but the strategy could also be go after Mary Sheffield, because you're going to want to take numbers from her and pile them upon yourself.
22%
I don't think you're going
undecided?
to. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get the Solomon Kinlock vote. I think those are pretty much locked in. But there are some undecideds out there who could make a difference. Now, this is more of a debate for those people behind Kinlock and Sheffield. They have to make a decision on how they're going to move forward and how they're going to connect with the folks, how they're going to encourage them to come into their camp.
And I'm hoping for a more policy-driven discussions that move beyond just platitudes. And I think that's a lot of what we've been hearing in this primary season. The current condition right here in the city of Detroit is dire for so many, and I would love to see candidates speak to that. But even the temperature nationally with what is going on with ICE raids around the country and the protests that are scheduled to happen. And we have one candidate who said they will support the coming in of National Guard troops if protests break out in the city of Detroit if they're mayor, and things like that. And so there is a lot of stuff happening that's in the zeitgeist that people are thinking about, and it would be interesting to see how folks respond.
Yeah. Would you expect a haymaker from anybody, something that just kind of comes out of left field from some of the candidates who are trailing right now?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know if we're going to be looking for that one punch that's going to try to take someone out, because I don't think you don't have enough time to do that. And how do you do that to differentiate yourself from the others? I think the voters are tired of the mudslinging, the beating up. What are you going to do for me?
That's right. Yeah.
What are you going to do for me and my family?
That's right. Yeah.
The other thing you brought up, the folks who weren't invited, and I should point out, the Channel 4 is inviting the 4 candidates we've talked about, and it's based on polling, but that leaves 5 candidates who aren't going to be there. And in full disclosure, we are expecting them to protest outside of Local 4, and that's perfectly within their right. But let me ask it this way: what can they do now, these 5 candidates, to stay in the race or keep their name out there or still have a shot at that number 2 spot?
Well, first of all, they better start spending some money.
Yeah.
They better get on TV, radio, they better buy some print and put up some billboards. If I was running a campaign against James Craig, who went out and basically said that he would support, Trump's decision to send in the National Guard and the Marines and everybody else in LA, I'd put up a billboard all around this town and say, with his picture and Trump's picture, and say, I voted for this man 3 times. Then he'd be out the race. So I think, you're going to have to do some negative campaigning. People don't like it, I just said it.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to do something to put yourself up front to make yourself different from the others. You better spend some money. But the funders have stopped funding. The volunteers have stopped volunteering.
Yeah, and you know, it's a political reality to what you're saying, Mario, but I also think that there is an opportunity for those 5 who will not be here to band together residents who aren't voting. So we continue to see very low voter turnout, right? We have a significant amount of people who are registered to vote. Only a small portion of those people actually show up to the polls. What are you doing to mobilize those Detroit registered voters who aren't showing up? There's a huge opportunity there. People need to hit the streets.
What have you seen so far in that regard? Who's doing the best job of that?
I think the leaders are. I think that Mary Sheffield is doing it, and Solomon Kinlock. Those guys are knocking on doors. You see them. They're knocking. They're making the scene. They're doing your videos. They're showing that they've got this massive support. But let's face the reality. The people that didn't get invited are low in the polls. Like Rasheed Wallace used to say, the ball don't lie, the polls don't lie. And they are not moving the needle. And Channel 4 had to make a decision. We can't invite everybody, or we could, but it's going to take up the time, and nobody's going to hear. But the leaders are the leaders. And I think that these folks who kind of see themselves in the 1% and 3% now, they better start cutting some deals. They better start finding which one of these 2 candidates they're going to get behind, because they're going to be jobless pretty soon.
It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Guys, thanks for your thoughts.
This was fun.
It's going to be quite fun tomorrow night. We know that for sure. A lot can happen.
A lot of heat's on you, huh? You're the man.
Unfortunately, yes. And we will do the best we can.
All right, the debate, of course, tonight at 7 o'clock on Local 4 and here on Local 4 Plus. And tomorrow morning, we're going to have a full roundtable to discuss the outcome of that debate. That's tomorrow morning on Local 4 Live and here on Local 4 Plus. Let's take a live look outside Detroit right now. We are definitely feeling some of that summer heat. Look at the brand new Hudson's building. Ashley is walking to the Nook. She's going to have our forecast for the week. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Ashley is in the Nook looking at your forecast. It's
catchy, isn't it?
Right?
The Nook.
Need to get a sign up
Nick's
here.
Nook.
Turn it into like a little pub.
Yeah.
Would they allow that?
Like an LED.
Yes.
Yeah, like the lights on. So like you're in business right now and then you turn off when you're done.
It would never be on then.
What do you mean?
Taking a nap.
No. Working hard.
Yes, always. Okay.
Hardest working reporter in the biz, by the way. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you. Look at you. I mean, you came away with some great. My phone is ringing. Who is it? I don't know.
No, we have a great staff here at WDIV. Very hard workers.
Okay. the forecast looks interesting with some 90s in there, some potential storms, but like summer is here.
Summer is here. And, it's been a very quiet start to summer because it's been so cool. So really we can't complain as far as it being a calm start. But hey, check this out. Blue skies peeking through. I said those clouds were going to be breaking, and here they are. So yeah, downtown Detroit from our Windsor Sky Cam, calm river, and we have some blue skies smiling our way. So 66 degrees in the city. We're already at 70 in Ann Arbor, 66 in Pontiac, and 68 in Monroe. And still very light wind, calm to a light northeasterly breeze that eventually by this afternoon will shift out of the southeast, and that's when you will notice a difference in those temperatures for sure, but it'll continue to help warm us up over the next couple days. So temperature wise, we're scouring the map and you see that 70, not just in Ann Arbor, but down into Adrian as well, but the rest of us still hanging tight in the 60s. Satellite and radar, that cloud cover that was over us, push off to the east, and now we have a nice pocket of clear air from Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, all the way here towards Detroit. So we're going to get a nice dose of sunshine for today. Air quality has improved tremendously over the last week. We were stuck in a stretch of days where we had that wildfire smoke leading to incredible pollutants in our atmosphere. And so now we still have that thin layer up above, but it's not impacting our air quality at the surface, which is great news, especially as you're trying to get those kids outside and enjoy that summer-like heat. So 82 degrees, partly cloudy today. Maybe hit a splash pad, get the sprinkler out, or if you're lucky and you have a pool or you have one of the public pools you can go to, today's a day to enjoy it. We have one little pop-up chance around 5, and you blink and you miss that little popcorn shower. So I'm not necessarily going to put my eggs in the basket of seeing that, but we could get some scattered showers rolling through in the afternoon tomorrow and even into tomorrow night. Better chance, though, for some storms to develop as we head into Wednesday. So that comes with a slight level 2 risk of severe weather, damaging winds, large hail, flooding, and even an isolated tornado, all on the table. But the timing is still a little bit in fluctuation. So we have that warm front lifting that creates some instability as that low tracks to the north. The heavier rain could be in northern lower Michigan, but just a smidge of a difference in that track, especially with that chasing cold front. And we could see some different scenarios here. But I do think it's going to be a later Wednesday event, at least with the model data that we have right now. But we'll have a better grasp, really probably within the next 12 hours as more data comes in. We fall to about 80 on Thursday and Friday, and then either side of 90 this weekend. So if you're going to be outside, stay hydrated and start making plans of how you're going to stay cool in that heat.
Bring the water and the sunscreen.
Popsicles.
And popsicles.
Yes.
I'm in. Okay, Ashley, thank you so much. We'll be right back. Let's take a look at Karen's live drive. Actually, no, in your national headlines this morning. The man suspected of shooting 2 lawmakers and their spouse is expected to be in court this afternoon in Minnesota. The police arrested Vance Bolter last night following a weekend manhunt. Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were shot and killed in their home early on Saturday morning. Police say he had a hit list of nearly 70 names found in his car. He's going to face a judge this afternoon. President Trump is announcing a significant expansion of ICE enforcement targeting, quote, Democratic-run cities. Trump claims that there is a widespread fraud issue and crime in cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. ICE officers are now making around 3,000 arrests every day. That's a sharp increase from about 650 just a few months ago. This has sparked nationwide protest and raised questions about his decision to deploy the National Guard in California, a move he does stand by. Getting a live look at the board right now. When we come back, we're taking a look at the stocks as the market is set to open in just a few minutes.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, June 16th. We are officially on our second week of Local 4 Live. Thank you for joining us here at about 9:30, exactly 9:30 on your Monday morning. Let's look at some of the headlines here throughout the day. We're going to start with the stock market, which just opened about a minute ago. You can see the board there, currently up right now, but we are expecting some interesting changes as the war between Iran and Israel currently happening that could affect the stocks and your gas prices today. We're also going to be looking at something interesting that our own Karen Drew has been working on for weeks. The investigative team has been live with us all morning, talking us through some of the spots on 96 where drivers are more likely to crash, digging through 5 years of crash data. We revealed the fourth worst spot for crashes. That's I-96 Express to the M39 Southfield Freeway interchange. And the third spot, Greenfield Road to Wyoming Avenue. The second worst spot, 96 eastbound from just before Novi Road to the I-696 M5 interchange. I have a group of people sitting around me, and every single one of them is nodding their head. Local 4 investigator Karen Drew is back live in the mobile newsroom looking at the number one spot. Not a spot you want to be in, Karen.
Oh my gosh, no you don't. I just want to say we have made it. We've been on the road for like 4 hours driving through all these crash zones, and we've seen a couple people getting pulled over. We've seen some tie-ups, but we've made it. But we were really intensely paying attention because that's exactly what you need to do because it gets confusing. All of these zones, these top 4 spots, get confusing because of merging. I want to show you the top spot after going through 5 years of data that sees the most crashes on I-96. Take a look. So we are headed into the spot that sees the most crashes on I-96.
We went through 5 years of crash data. I-96 between 7 Mile to the M1496 interchange. Adding to the confusion, this stretch of I-96 shares a name with I-275.
I actually sometimes get nervous driving this area because I think I'm going to make a wrong decision at the last second.
Between 2019 through 2023, there were 978 crashes in this 2-mile stretch. So why are there more crashes here? Well, it's a little complicated, literally.
First of all, you got a lot of traffic that exits at 8 Mile. Then the rest of your traffic going south between 7 Mile down to the interchange with 96 to the east, M14 to the west. And those ramps split.
Do you know which lane you need to be in? Well, that's great, but you still need to keep an eye out for drivers who don't know where they're going.
So if you're not sure where your road is, you go from either the far left. Turns out you need to be on the far right, which is 4 lanes over, and we get the side swipes, we get the rear ends, or do you stay on 275 to keep going south? So you really have 3 choices at that point, and that's why we do get a lot of crashes.
It's those last-minute mistakes that can cause a crash. There's a breakdown of the data. October saw the most crashes with 108. April saw the least with 70. Crashes were more likely to occur on a Friday, least likely to occur on a Sunday. And 5 o'clock in the evening was the time of day that saw the most crashes.
All right, back here live driving on I-96. So we've made it through all of those 4 zones. We're actually going to be approaching Southfield soon. So on the way back to Detroit, we're going to hit 2 zones that see the most crashes. So we've got 2 in the city. We've got 1 in Plymouth. We've got 1 in Novi. We've got all that data compiled. If folks want to take a deep dive, they can look at our digital investigation, Nick. But the key here, which MDOT says, is obviously pay attention, get off your phone, don't only depend on GPS. I did ask, could you put more signs up? And they said they have done studies where there is a level where there's too many signs. It gets too confusing. So sometimes they want to do those placards on the ground. That seems to be pretty successful. But I guess that makes sense because I sometimes see all these signs. I don't know if you do. And then I'm like, wait, express, local, right, left.
Right.
It can get overwhelming.
Yeah, sometimes
right?
you just don't know where you are, where you're going. You know, Karen, I noticed something in all your reporting this morning. You've used the word crash versus accident all morning long. And I think that was on purpose.
Yes, that was on purpose. When I was talking with MDOT and I was talking with Michigan State Police particularly, they said, do not use the word accident. Accident almost infers that like it can be avoided per se. And 99% of these are driver error. It is when the person's not paying attention, they hurry up and move over, they hit another car. It's not necessarily because of the construction of the road and all of these zones, it wasn't because like a curve, because sometimes we've seen that, or a steep incline. it really is driver error. So they said, don't use the word accident. It's not an accident, it's a crash. And we have a responsibility as drivers for ourselves, for our kids in the back seat, and for the people we're driving with to pay better attention. Because now we know those 4 zones, so we need to pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah, we sure
So,
do. Karen, thank you so much for all your work this morning and for driving for nearly 4 or 5 hours straight here. Take a break, go find a bathroom somewhere, okay?
I was just going to say, I've had so much coffee. Good luck to the people I encountered today.
All right, Karen, thank you. Our investigative team did a deep digital dive on the crash data. Scan that QR code on your screen. That's going to take you to clickondetroit.com, where you can get breakdowns on the types of crashes, worst times of day, and the days with the most crashes. The trial for Svetlana Kurinova, a woman accused of sexually assaulting 2 boys while working at a juvenile center, that's happening in court right now, that hearing. She's facing serious charges for allegedly assaulting a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old back in April of 2024 at a detention facility in Hamtramck, where she worked as a detention specialist. She is charged with 2 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct, and if convicted, she could face up to 30 years in prison. A Detroit police officer is accused of sending inappropriate messages to a 12-year-old girl. He's going to be in court today. Earl Anderson Jr. is facing charges of accosting a child for immoral purposes and using a computer to commit a crime. Both are 4-year felonies. Anderson was suspended from duty back in March after these allegations came to light. His pretrial hearing is set for 9:30, so it was supposed to start 7 minutes ago, but court rarely, if ever, starts on time. Okay. 9:37 here on your Monday morning. If you're thinking about a new job and a new beginning, boy, do we have the people for you. We're going to make you an offer that's too good to refuse. You can't turn it down. We're working with Hired in Michigan, and we've rounded up a bunch of employers for a one-place, one-time, one-stop shop for jobs. The 2025 Skilled Careers Job Fair, just 3 days away. It's on Thursday. You're invited to the Radisson Hotel on Telegraph. That's, of course, in Southfield. Some of the confirmed businesses include Stellantis, Victor's Home Solutions, Independent Financial Advisors, the Wayne County Sheriff. We've got American House. We have BASF Coatings. So many opportunities and a full house right now at the round table. I've got 2 employers participating, plus CJ Eason, the president of Workforce Development at Hired in Michigan. CJ, this is a collaboration between the great work that you're doing, the great folks at your place, plus Local 4, and this skilled trade job fair is almost every blue-collar job you can think of, isn't it?
Absolutely. Lots of blue-collar positions and lots of experienced positions as well, industry-recognized positions, certification positions as well.
Okay, so paint a picture for me. What's it going to look like when I walk into this job fair on Thursday?
There's going to be lots of employers that are excited to meet you, lots of employers that are looking for you to have a resume in hand. So make sure that you print your resume, not provide those resumes on your cell phone.
A hard copy right there.
A hard copy. And they're also going to be interviewing on site. We have interview areas that are designated for those interviews.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I do want to bring in Gretchen Tietzel from BASF Coatings and Harold Alacron from American House. Thank you so much for being here early on a Monday morning. First of all, let's talk about the job market, the labor market, and the types of employees you're trying to get. Are you having a difficult time finding the right people right now?
You know, I think it's always tricky because you have to find the right skill set as well as the right culture fit.
Yeah.
But I think we've been pretty lucky overall. I think the job market's been pretty decent. We've gotten a good flow of candidates when we do post for positions.
Right.
I think the company is pretty well known as well, so I think that helps, having that brand recognition.
All right, so what about you, Harold? What are you looking for, and what are the challenges right now?
I would agree with her. One of the things that we're looking for are people who are passionate working with seniors.
Okay.
We're in a senior living facility, so we're looking for someone who wants to work with seniors who are passionate about their care. As far as finding the personnel out there, a little bit of luck and goes a long way, but right now I think we're pretty good.
Yeah. What I'm curious about, and this kind of goes to the job fair itself, is that I don't want to say you can train anybody to do anything, but with the right mindset, you can learn the skills you need for these types of jobs. I think it's a lot based on personality and work ethic, and as you mentioned, the culture a little bit. How do you kind of weed that out and figure out, yeah, I can teach you how to do that, but is this right for you? And are you right for us?
It's through the interview process.
Okay.
And it's through getting to know the candidate, taking that time to ask questions. What's your goal? What do you want to do with your career? And are you a person that's willing to learn and grow with the company?
Yeah. Is that something that you found maybe not challenging, but is certainly maybe one of the bigger parts of the interviewing process, the hiring process, is finding the right fit?
100%.
Yeah.
As CJ mentioned, I think, the culture fit is a huge thing too. And I think finding people that really want a career and not just a job.
Sure.
We're looking for people that can grow with the organization and grow with us as we continue to, change and modify with the job market.
So not just a paycheck then.
Not just a paycheck, exactly.
Yeah,
we want long-term employees.
Especially, and not to separate the two of you, but especially when you're dealing directly with caring for seniors.
Absolutely, we consider it a family. So we're looking for someone who doesn't want a job but want to become part of our family.
Yeah. Okay. Are you excited for the job fair?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
But why?
Great. The opportunity to give someone a chance to find employment, I think, is what drives anyone in this profession, recruiters. Sometimes you see them later in life and they'll thank you, or a couple months goes by and they'll stop by and give you a little, just a handshake or a hug saying thank you. If it wasn't for this job, something else would have occurred.
Right. Okay. I'm getting a wrap from the producer, but I do have to ask you very quickly. You can make a great wage and salary at some of these jobs, can't you?
Absolutely. There are great wages and salaries that are available. So these are not any low-paying positions that are being offered at the Career Fair event. These are high-paying, high-demand job opportunities with opportunity for growth and advancement with the companies.
I love that. Okay. Again, so the job fair happening Thursday in Southfield at the Radisson. What times?
11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
So there's plenty of time for you to arrive.
And do we just walk in or do we have to register?
You should also register ahead of time because employers are getting access to your resumes ahead of time and they're calling you for interviews.
Okay.
But you can definitely just walk in, but you must have your resume in order to walk in.
No resume, no entrance.
No resume,
Got
no
it.
entry. We're very serious about that.
Put the sign on the door.
It is.
Right? No resume, no service. No shoes, no service. You wear your shoes too. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Can't wait for the job fair on Thursday. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Local 4 Live. Switching gears, today is a very special day, National Fudge Day. Let's be honest, one very important place in Michigan that's celebrating. Let's take a live look over where the fudge shops are happening on Mackinac Island. All the workers hard at work this morning. Those long morning hours. Getting ready for all the visitors. Since it is National Fudge Day, let's look at some of the fudge numbers about how much is made over on Mackinac Island. Take a look. There are 13 fudge stores on the island that have been making fudge for more than 100 years. 10,000 pounds of fudge made every single day. 10 tons of sugar is imported each week. There's 10 tons of butter imported every year. Joining us to talk about Michigan's love for fudge and Mackinac Island, Steph Castelline, the Managing Director for the Mackinac Island Tourism Board. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, we have to start with the fudge because there's so much fudge. We'll talk more about the island in just a moment, but this is a big day for you guys.
It is. You know, we celebrate fudge every day, but it's nice that everybody else gets to celebrate with us too.
So when people are coming to the island or even Mackinac City, is this, I don't want to say the number one thing, but it's got to rank pretty high on why people come and what they want to see.
Yeah, you know, we're known for many things on Mackinac Island, and some of those being horses, history, and fudge. We are the fudge capital of the world. If you look that up online, Mackinac Island will come up as fudge capital of the world. Like you mentioned, 7 fudge businesses, 13 shops in our little downtown. You can't walk down the street without smelling that fudge, and then, of course, you have to give it all a taste.
Okay, so can you take us behind the scenes then? Because if there are no vehicles allowed on the island, how do we truck in all this fudge and butter?
Yeah, it's such a amazing thing to think about, how that whole process and logistics of it all happens. So actually I was riding bike this morning through downtown, and I was counting all the sugar bags, and outside of just one fudge shop was 15 sugar bags. Those bags are delivered daily. Those guys are bringing, you know, what they do is they bring over all the goods. So you're talking sugar, butter, cream, chocolate, food, beverage, kind of everything over on the freight boats. And then they get loaded up to drays, which are the flatbeds that our horses pull. And then they get delivered to the different spots on the island, including the fudge shops.
And so that happens every single day?
It does. You know, they keep up with the different requests. And in peak season, we're making 10,000 pounds of fudge a day. I mean, that's just incredible numbers. And so, yeah, daily they have deliveries to the different fudge shops.
Okay, we're live right now, so you can't lie to me. How much fudge do you have every day?
Ooh, well, honestly, there's no lying. Every time I walk by either direction downtown, they're handing out little fudge samples, and it is so hard to say no.
I would love all the samples.
Yeah, honestly, maybe every other day.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about other things on the island. Obviously, summer is ramping up. Some great things to see and do out there. What's your best advice if we're going to make you a destination sometime this summer?
Yeah, I would say book early. You know, being a May through October destination, things seem to go so quickly. And so we're already in the middle of June. We just wrapped up our 10-day Lilac Festival, and we have a lot, you know, there's a lot of summer left, but it'll go quickly. So I would say look at, you know, an ideal time to book, or maybe a day trip over to the island, and start planning as soon as you can.
That's a great advice. Okay, one last question. What is your favorite fudge? Just normal or one of the flavors?
Yeah, I don't. One of my coworkers always says, "Is there bad fudge?" The answer is no. So I would say whatever is available. I do like the different kinds, though. I'm a peanut butter fan, a caramel fan, so I like a little something added into them.
I love it. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Enjoy the beautiful day up there today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy National Fudge Day.
You too. I wish it was every day. Every day. All right. Speaking of weather, I mean, it is perfect up there. And perfect in the Nook because we have all this fudge now.
It's like, look at you hoarding it all over there.
I didn't hoard. I mean, do you want to share? What do you want? Would you like something? You know, I'm going to give you some bumpy cake.
Oh, bumpy cake. All
Producer
right.
Mary has been hoarding this for a while.
Oh, yeah. But I agree. I feel like peanut butter or caramel, like you got to give me like a little more flavor than just the chocolate.
My go-to is the cherry. The cherry
Oh, I
fudge.
haven't had that yet.
Oh, my gosh. It is so good.
Now my stomach's growling.
Right?
Yeah.
I have to go for about an hour. It's great. It's great. Okay.
But it will be a beautiful day up there. It's going to be a beautiful day here.
Yeah.
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 Great way to start the week. I mean, we're just kind of like rolling the weekend into this, you know, the beginning of the week.
Extend it.
I mean, we had a beautiful Father's Day.
We sure
Happy belated Father's Day, by the way,
you.
Nick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was recovering from dance recitals.
Hey, you're going to look back and you're going to miss those days for sure.
100% I will. I know I will.
Yeah, so we're right around 70 degrees right now. And if you didn't have time to hit the water because maybe you were at a dance recital this weekend, I was one of those too. We have great conditions this afternoon. So maybe you want to hit the pool or the lake. We have just so many beautiful areas around southeastern Michigan to take in summer. And so here we go. We are just kind of teetering around that 70-degree mark in some of the cities, but like Ann Arbor, down into Monroe, Adrian, even Howell has already cracked that 70-degree mark. And we'll just continue to warm things up from here. We push that cloud cover off to the east, so blue skies will continue to build in. And so we will be looking at some warmer temperatures. The air quality also nice. And so you see in the corner of your screen that live look at downtown Detroit, blue skies. And we might get just a little haze with the sunshine because of some wildfire smoke trapped aloft, but it's still not a thick smoke layer compared to what we had last week. So our air quality is fine. It's just going to be more of that filtered sunshine from time to time. Southeasterly winds this afternoon help get us into the low 80s. We'll have partly cloudy skies. And as we look ahead, there is some rain well off to the west of Lake Michigan. And that could bring enough moisture and instability by late this afternoon. Even we're talking closer to the dinner hour, about 5 for a pop-up kind of popcorn shower. And that's about it. Once we get in the later part of tomorrow, you see a couple scattered showers could roll through, especially to our north, and that will be a little more prominent while we're sleeping Tuesday night into Wednesday. But then we're keeping a very close eye on what's kind of developing as we head into Wednesday afternoon and possibly late Wednesday night. So slight level 2 risk for strong to severe storms for late Wednesday, with everything really on the table, but damaging wind gusts and hail will be the primary threats. And so as we have a broader view of what we're tracking there, you get the warm front that lifts, you get that trailing cold front along with that low pressure system, just a ton of instability. And so right now, that particular model keeping the heaviest rain to our north, but I do think that we could see some of those stronger cells develop with that cold front that rolls through. So we're still kind of ironing out the timeline of that, but it will be later Wednesday, and then we fall to about 80 as we round out the work week, which we will officially welcome summer with the summer solstice on Friday. Then we crank up the heat right behind it, either side of 90 for the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
90.
I know. It's all right. We'll take it. Ashley, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay, we're taking a live look downtown in just a moment. Next, Kim DeGiulio, live in the D, coming in studio to let us know what's happening on their show. It starts in about 1 hour and 7 minutes. Happening in 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So much more to come here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus. Kim DiGiulio from Live in the D here to show us and talk about what's coming up. You say, what's the buzz? That's a segment?
Yeah, that's a segment that we do on Monday, and I'm really loving it because it's just a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Nick. Have you ever seen a celebrity in the wild, like out in public?
Not in public.
Really?
Yeah, not in public. I've been on a couple press junkets where I got to interact with some big A-list celebrities, but not like out in the wild.
But that's for work, so
Yeah,
you're like
totally
able
different.
to go up to them. Totally
Right.
different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that on What's the Buzz, because there's a certain etiquette, like what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
Are
or
you
what,
supposed to approach it all?
That's the thing. That's the question. Would you?
I don't know. Like, I'd want to give them privacy, but I also want the picture.
Exactly.
Right?
Who's your favorite celebrity?
Oh, who would I have to go see?
Yeah. Like movie, musician.
Probably Stallone.
Stallone. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you see Stallone. Do you go up?
I think I have to because I
You have
regret
to.
it.
I know.
I regret it, right?
Exactly.
But aren't they annoyed or are they used to it?
I know. That's the thing. It's the question. So we're going to be
Okay.
talking
Would you?
about that. Totally.
Of course you
Totally.
would. Kim has no chill.
No chill. But yeah, so it's, and then if you do go up, what is the etiquette? Like,
Do you
is
say,
it,
hey, I'm so sorry to bother
Exactly.
you. Can I take a, okay.
Yeah, so we're
or do
going
you
to be
just bum
talking
rush
about,
them?
Yeah, or just like quick selfie right there.
Don't even give them a choice to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Kim DiGiulio
The days
style.
of asking for an autograph are totally over.
Gone.
Too.
No, it's
that
the
doesn't
selfies,
matter.
right?
Exactly.
Right. All right.
But yeah, so we're going to be talking about that on What's the Buzz today. So much more. It's Music Monday as
Oh,
well.
okay.
And then we want to let you know about a couple of programming changes happening today
because of the debates?
debate. Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that as
Kim
well.
DiGiulio live in the D in an hour and 3 minutes now.
Yep.
Make it a great Monday, everybody.
2 minutes and 59 seconds. No.
I'm great at counting.
Today on Live in the D, Fashion with a Purpose, a dynamic group of women making a difference. The fashion show happening this week and how it helps worthy causes in Metro Detroit. Plus, it's Music Monday. We've got the world-renowned flutist Alexander Zonjic in the house, where you can see him for free this weekend. And what's the proper etiquette when you spot a celebrity out in public? Do you approach? And if you do, how do you approach? It's all coming up on Live in the D at 11 a.m. Today on Live in the D, a story for those of you who like alcohol-free beer. Many prefer it because it doesn't get you drunk, but a new study suggests it could be doing your body some serious harm. Plus, walking is a healthy way to burn some calories and stay in shape. We're going to show you some of the best walking shoes tested by fitness experts and foot doctors. And Michigan Humane joins us with new and helpful tips to keep your pet safe. It's all coming up on Live in the D at 11 a.m.
Why would you drink decaf?
Decaf is silly to me. Yeah, that's one that I don't get.
All right, stand by. 3, 2.
On the next Live in the D, walking is a great way to stay in shape. We'll show you some of the best walking shoes tested by foot doctors.